Good morning. I'm Mark Totten, the U.S. Attorney for the Western District of Michigan. I have with me Special Agent in Charge of FBI Michigan, Devin Kowalski, Special Supervisory Resident Agent, Mark Civiletto, and then I have two other guests that I will introduce in just a moment. Today, we are announcing the successful extradition of two Nigerian nationals who ran an international sextortion ring. Samuel Ogoshi, age 22, and Samson Ogoshi, age 20. The defendants arrived here at the Gerald R. Ford International Airport at approximately 11:15 this morning. On May 3rd of this year, I announced that our office had filed an indictment against these two defendants, plus an additional defendant, Ezekiel Robert, age 19, also a Nigerian national. The extradition proceedings are underway as to this third defendant, and we are optimistic that he will be extradited as well. The indictment alleges that these defendants targeted more than 100 victims, both minors and adults. One of the victims in this case was 17-year-old Jordan DeMay from Marquette, Michigan, who tragically took his life as a result of this crime. As a standard practice, we do not mention the names of victims in our public comments, but I do so today at the request of his family. We are grateful to have standing with us today two special agents from Nigeria's Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, or EFCC, who have been partners in this investigation and have assisted in the transportation of the defendants. Let me now introduce them to you. To my right is Oshodi Glover Bapatundi Alfred, a team member of the Cybercrime Section Team B. And to my left is ASC2 Adams Adzi Shedrock, also a team member from Cybercrime Section Team B. We are also grateful for several Nigerian officials who are not present with us today, who have been critical partners, and I'd like to mention them by name. First of all, I'll mention two people from Nigeria's Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. First of all, Acting Executive Chairman Abdul Karim Chukol. In addition, Ace 1 Michael Wetcas, a commander at EFCC Lagos. In addition, I'd like to mention two people from the Office of the Attorney General, Ministry of Justice in Nigeria. First of all, Assistant Director Antoinette Ochiobi from Central Authority Unit, International Cooperation Department, and also Principal State Counsel Pius Akuta, also from the Central Authority Unit, the International Cooperation Department. My sincere thanks to all of our Nigerian partners for your extraordinary efforts in this case and your shared commitment to justice. On behalf of the United States Department of Justice, I want to extend my sincere personal gratitude. Now let me add some details about the alleged scheme and the charges as well, and say something about the steps that will follow. This criminal scheme involved a practice which is commonly referred to as sextortion. I will remind you that these are allegations and a defendant is innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. A federal grand jury has alleged the following. The three defendants, Samuel Ogoshi, Samson Ogoshi, and Ezekiel Robert, purchased multiple hacked social media accounts. One of these hacked accounts was used to create the Instagram account Danny Roberts, the picture of whom was a young woman. Once Samuel Ogoshi had the Instagram account, he used its messaging feature to contact Jordan DeMay, the 17-year-old from Marquette, Michigan. Over the course of a short conversation, Samuel Ogoshi, pretending to be this young woman, persuaded Jordan to send a sexually explicit image of himself. Once Samuel Ogoshi had that sexually explicit image in his hand, he then turned to extort Jordan DeMay for money, threatening to reveal the image to Jordan's family and friends if he did not comply. Jordan DeMay paid what he had, which was $300. But Samuel Ogoshi continued his threats, demanding more from Jordan. A few hours later, Jordan told Samuel Ogoshi that he was now taking his life. And Samuel Ogoshi, responding through the Instagram persona of Danny Roberts, told him, "Do that fast, or I'll make you do it." Jordan DeMay then took his life. Now let me turn to the charges. The indictment includes 4 counts. We have charged all the defendants with these 3 crimes. First, with conspiracy to sexually exploit minors, the minimum penalty of which is 15 years, the maximum of which is 30 years. Second, conspiracy to distribute child pornography carries a minimum of 5 years, a maximum of 20 years. Third, conspiracy to commit stalking through the internet. It does not have a minimum, it carries a maximum of 5 years. And then lastly, we have charged Samuel Ogoshi with the crime of sexual exploitation and attempted sexual exploitation of a minor resulting in death. The minimum penalty for this crime is 30 years, and the maximum is life. In terms of next steps, the extradition process as to the third defendant, Ezekiel Robert, will continue. And as I mentioned, we're optimistic that he will be extradited as well. We do anticipate that the initial appearance of the extradited defendants will take place tomorrow afternoon at the federal courthouse here in Grand Rapids, Michigan, at a time to be determined by the court. As to any further actions thereafter, we will wait to hear from the court as to how we will proceed. I will mention that we will not be making any further public comments tomorrow as we're having this press conference today. With that, I want to turn it over to Acting Special Agent in charge of FBI Michigan, Devin Kowalski. Before I do, I just want to say thank you to SAC Kowalski and his team for their extraordinary investigative work that made this case possible. Working side by side with our Nigerian partners, FBI Michigan delivered in this case what they do time and time again: a careful, smart, determined, and exhaustive investigative effort to protect children and people across Michigan. With that, I'll turn it over to SAC Kowalski.
Thank you, Mark. Good afternoon. My name is Devin Kowalski, and I'm the Acting Special Agent in charge of our field office here in Michigan. I'd like to thank U.S. Attorney Totten for his partnership and leadership on this successful extradition and bringing awareness to a growing crime facing our youth. And thank you to the media in attendance today. Your continued interest in Jordan's case has brought attention to this incredibly important topic. Less than a week after Jordan's tragic death, agents and professional staff across FBI Michigan began working tirelessly to find answers for the family. The FBI's involvement began when our Marquette office, our smallest FBI office in FBI Michigan, opened a case on a then unknown user who had been extorting Jordan. This was a multifaceted investigation that involved identifying hundreds of victims, following the digital footprints left behind by the sextortionists on the internet, tracking the payments made by victims through multiple financial entities, and working with our overseas office in Nigeria and our Nigerian counterparts, the Nigerian Economic Financial Crimes Commission, to identify our subjects in Nigeria. In addition to all the work done in the United States, personnel from the FBI in Michigan traveled to Nigeria to continue the investigation. It is through the Herculean effort of the FBI in Marquette, across Michigan, at our headquarters in Washington, D.C., in Atlanta, where the extradition team traveled through, and in Nigeria, that we are here today, announcing that 2 of the men who are allegedly responsible for Jordan's death are now in the United States to face justice. And make no mistake, charges of this type brought against subjects outside the United States are rare. Securing extradition of these subjects is even more rare. I could not be more proud of the work done by the Marquette resident agency of our FBI office, who were supported by the entire FBI Michigan family along the way. Too many to name, but I want to specifically thank Charles Smith Jr., our legal attaché, and his team in Nigeria for their incredible engagement and support in this investigation. This investigation required thousands of hours of investigative work, and the techniques used and refined during the process will serve as a framework for disrupting criminal groups who engage in sextortion schemes going forward nationwide. I'd also like to reiterate our appreciation to our foreign partners, as the U.S. Attorney noted, the Office of the Attorney General, Ministry of Justice, the Central Authority Unit of the International Cooperation Department, and I am especially grateful for the partnership between the FBI and the EFCC. They are an outstanding and professional organization that are consistently strong in their partnership with the U.S. government. And I would also like to thank Jordan's family for their support and patience. Without their support, we might not be where we are today. I want to take a few moments and provide some information about this terrible threat, sextortion. I am urging young people, their caregivers, and loved ones to educate themselves about sextortion and to help us protect each other and protect others from being victimized. The number of sextortion cases involving children and teens being threatened and coerced into sending explicit images online has more than doubled since the pandemic. Sextortion can start on any website, app, messaging platform, or game where people meet and communicate. The criminal may claim to already have a revealing picture or video of a child that will be shared if the victim does not send more pictures. But more often, this crime starts when young people believe they are communicating with someone their own age who is interested in an authentic relationship or with someone who is offering something of value. Particularly in the cases of financial sextortion, the offender receives sexually explicit material from the child and then threatens to release that compromising material unless the victim sends money and/or gift cards. The amount requested varies, and the offender often releases the victim's sexually explicit material regardless of whether or not payment is made or received. The shame, fear, and confusion our young people feel when they are targeted often prevents them from asking for help and prevents them from reporting the abuse. It is imperative that caregivers and young people understand how this crime occurs and begin discussing online safety in order to reduce stigma and save our children's lives before it is too late. If you believe you or your loved one has been financially sextorted, first remember the predator is to blame, not your child or you. Report the predator's account via the app or platform safety feature. Block the predator, but do not delete the profile or messages, because that information can be extremely helpful to us as we put together a case and identifying the subject. Ask for help from a trusted adult or law enforcement before sending money or additional images. And remember, cooperating rarely stops the blackmail and harassment, but law enforcement can if we know about it. For those who are listening and may have been targeted, I want you to know that you are not alone. And whether you can believe it now or not, there is life after sending pictures. Our partners at the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children have a program called Take It Down that can help victims mitigate the spread of their images online. If you're not ready to speak with the FBI, go to another trusted adult. Tell someone that you are being victimized online and need help. Talking about this can feel impossible, but there are people who want and can help you. If you're ready to report to law enforcement, or you are a bystander who suspects a person you know is a victim or a perpetrator, contact us at 1-800-CALL-FBI or report the crime online at tips.fbi.gov. That's tips.fbi.gov. The FBI and our law enforcement partners are only interested in bringing criminals to justice. Our children and teens should not fear reporting the crime, as they are innocent in these schemes. In conclusion, I have tremendous respect for everyone involved in this investigation. Thank you for bringing Jordan's family one step closer to justice. Thank you again for being here today.
Thanks so much, S.A.C. Kowalski. I appreciate it. And just in closing here, let me make two comments. First, I want to say thank you as well to the folks in my office, the support staff, the attorneys who have worked tirelessly on this case. Their work exemplifies what we try to do every single day, which is to seek justice, ensure accountability, and protect families and children all across the state. Second, I want to reinforce what S.A.C. Kowalski mentioned about the importance of this case for everyone who might be listening. To those engaging in this crime, understand that we will travel the world to find you and hold you accountable. No one is immune to justice. To those who use social media or who have kids who do, be vigilant and take to heart the advice we've shared. Talk to your kids today. And to those who are victims of this crime, please, please reach out for help. You are not alone. With that, I will turn it over to Tiff, and if there are any, I'm happy to take a few questions.
All right, just a reminder, our Nigerian law enforcement department will not take any questions, but we will open it up to the United States Attorney's Office and FBI.
I got one question for you. So with the coordinates of the DeMay family, have you guys been up to date with them knowing everything in terms of the process of getting the accused to America and extradition? Are you just well informing them in terms of do they not want to come here today and everything like that?
So I'm just going to repeat the question because I know some people are listening online. I believe the question is, are we communicating, keeping the family up to date? The answer to that is yes, and that's really standard practice for us in any case that involves a victim. We have specialists on our team, as does FBI, and both sides of that house have been working very closely with the family. There are things that we can't say that are not public yet, but as soon as we're able, we make sure that they hear from us, they have a chance to ask any questions, and that's just a really, really important part of our work.
You had said that these three allegedly targeted more than 100 victims. I know you haven't touched on a bit about how these cases have doubled since the pandemic. Can you talk about how serious of an issue this is and how much you've seen it from your experience?
Yeah, so the question was, just mentioning there were more than 100 people, as mentioned in our indictment, and just generally a question about what is the breadth of this problem. I will say we are seeing it all over the district, and we're seeing it increasingly. We're seeing it all over Michigan. We're seeing it all over the nation. FBI certainly on the front lines of what's happening, and the bread and butter of what we do is investigate and prosecute crimes. We're on the prosecution side. FBI is on the investigation side. But of course, what we really want to do is prevent these crimes from ever happening, which is one reason, an important reason, that we are holding this press conference today, to get the message out that every child who carries a phone, every adult who carries a phone, is carrying with them something that has the potential to really harm them if they are not careful and aware and take opportunities to educate their kids about the threats that are out there. And so that's certainly an important part of what we do. And I can mention, we have other active cases. We announced a case earlier this year. The defendant's name is Brandon Lee from Maitland, Florida. This was a case that was targeting younger girls seeking sexually explicit images. Sometimes you see sexual extortion where the aim is to get money, as we saw in the case that we're talking about today, and other times the aim is to try to get more sexually explicit images, and that is what was happening in this other case, the Lee case that we're prosecuting. And so FBI and ourselves and our other partners will continue to stay focused on this and do what we're trying to do today, is to get the word out about the dangers that are out there and the steps people can take to protect themselves.
The process, the extradition process went a lot quicker than what we were originally told. We were told it could maybe take up to a year. So can you elaborate a little bit more on how this all happened so quickly and how it all came together?
I think what we said originally was certainly right. It can take more than a year for sure. And then, sometimes extraditions don't happen. There are a lot of unknowns in that process, and we get the ball rolling, and we just wait to see where it goes. as both S.A.C. Kowalski and myself mentioned, we're really pleased, obviously, to be standing here today, one step closer to securing a measure of justice in this case. I think there were a lot of factors that went into this, and I guess I would say first and foremost that we're extremely grateful to our Nigerian partners. The folks that investigated the case, two of whom are standing with us today, their superiors, the heads of the agencies that we mentioned earlier, they prioritized this, I believe, because they understood the gravity of what happened. And so in the first instance, I would thank our Nigerian partners for getting us to where we are today and moving things along so quickly.
Yeah, kind of going off of her question as well, it was mentioned that it's rare to have the extradition process happen with other, like compliance with other countries. Was it because of the Nigerian officials that it was able to kind of go steadily and quickly?
I think there's a lot of factors that are certainly involved, but yes, our relationships with our Nigerian partners, their commitment to this case, their work, not just in the extradition phase, but in the investigation stage as well. They were partners along with FBI. All that was an important part of getting us here today.
One more for you. So what's next to come? We're here in America. I know they're being held here and intermediately for the arraignment tomorrow. What's next to come? What's the timeline we're looking at?
Yeah, so right now they're being transferred to our holding facility in Newaygo County, Michigan. FBI is handling that. They'll be turned over to the control of the U.S. Marshals, and they will remain in the custody of the U.S. Marshal Service. Tomorrow, they will be transported to their initial appearance, and from there forward, the process looks like what we're used to, right, in the criminal justice system. As I mentioned, there is a third defendant that we are seeking to get extradited that is not here today. In the United States, we have certain rules that govern the speed at which a trial moves along. They can't take forever. They need to keep moving along. And really, we'll wait, I think, to see what direction the court gives us, whether they would toll the clock on the timetable that we're under in order to allow the third person to be extradited, or whether they would move forward with the trial of the two individuals. Tomorrow will be the initial appearance. They'll be, again, duly informed of the crimes against them and the normal steps that take place in that proceeding.
Awesome. And then the last one for you, too, is I heard that you said there was 3, the one being looked for. Was it just 3? Because I overheard someone saying that there might be 6 in total.
Yeah, so I was just asked, are there others in addition to the 3 that we named in our indictment? So our Nigerian counterparts have publicly announced that they have filed charges against 3 additional Nigerian defendants. Those 3 defendants are moving through the Nigerian criminal justice system. So that is happening separately in Nigeria.
We'll take just a couple more. Yeah, and that was kind of going to be my question, is whether or not these 3 acted alone or they were part of a bigger organization, and if that organization was kind of taken down in some aspect. Can you tell us anything more about the background of the 3 and how and what kind of situation you found them in over there?
Yeah, I'm afraid there's not much I can say at this point, just given the current posture of the case. Certainly you're aware of the 3 charged defendants, 2 of whom are now here today. I just mentioned we've got the 3 additional defendants, I should say Nigeria does. Those are being prosecuted in their criminal justice system. And I'll just lastly mention what I said earlier when we initially announced the indictment, is that this is an ongoing investigation, and it may be or may not, but it may be that there are more to come. But we'll just have to wait and see where the investigation goes.
We'll take the last question.
Yeah, in addition to charges like these and kind of getting the message out there, like you said, is there anything else that you can speak to that the FBI may be looking into to kind of crack down on these kinds of cases before they happen, in terms of preventative measures, maybe working together to a larger extent with local governments? Is there anything else that you can speak to on any other efforts you may be trying?
So let me repeat the question, and then S.A.C. Kowalski, I think you're probably better positioned to answer that question, so I'll turn it over to you. The question was, is there anything we can say, or FBI can generally say, about how they are targeting these types of crimes, who they might be working with, anything kind of generally at a high level that you can say along those lines?
Sure. Thank you for the question. I think it's a two-part answer. The first is for those tips of sextortion that come into us via 1-800-CALL-FBI or tips.fbi.gov, we are extremely focused, and we move quickly to address those tips to try to stop and prevent additional suicide, additional negative events. And we aggressively investigate those and work them back, and we collaborate with our other field offices to determine if there's a network or if there's a group, as mentioned before in the other question. So we are aggressive in how we address these, and that's why we invite as much information as possible to come in. The second piece, which is happening at the same time, and it's happening all the time across the country, it's happening across this field office, across the state, and our 55 other field offices in the FBI. We have a very robust community outreach program in which we are providing presentations, awareness to school districts, parents, PTAs, anybody that would be interested in hearing about this messaging. That would be an invitation for anybody listening to this press conference, at least here in Michigan, to contact us, and we would be more than happy to facilitate an awareness briefing. We're doing that already, but as you've heard today, we can't be doing it enough. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks. This way. Thank you, sir.